Welcome to part 2 of lesson 9. In this lesson, I will discuss how to overcome anxiety, the solutions from my experience. The pathological anxiety has 3 main types. One is where the issue is actually tied to the danger, which is a hidden threat. As I explained in the last lesson, you have to resolve the issue. That's important because you'll never get over the anxiety, even though the actual danger may not be real in the sense of you suffering some harm. Certainly it's real in that a hidden threat is being posed. But like I explained in the last lesson, he wasn't going to give a go-ahead signal for the criminals to enter through the back door, but he had the potential set up. The potential was enough to cause me anxiety and continue to cause me anxiety. So an issue like this has to be resolved, and usually you'll find that the anxiety only happens at a particular place or a particular time. Like for me, it was at night around bedtime. When you understand what's involved, then you can understand why a person would avoid a certain situation or a certain place, because they are being put under threat in those cases. Now, the threat is not aimed to be carried out, but why suffer that anxiety? It's best to avoid these areas. The second type of anxiety is where the issue is not tied to the danger. There's the issue, and then there is the hidden threat. The two are not related. The issue and the threat are made concurrent precisely for the reason to make you think that they are associated, that the issue is a real problem and a danger to your health. If you were worried about something to do with your health, you may think about it from time to time, but it wouldn't be thoughts suddenly appear and there's all this fear and anxiety, and that you would become distressed by it. It would be simply that you'd be thinking over something and you may be worried about it, but not that it would cause you major distress. And certainly if you had medical tests and found to have no problem, then that distress shows you are being influenced by somebody for some purpose, some agenda. The fact that ideas keep coming to mind and you have continual anxiety and it affects your quality of life, it means that somebody is presenting you with the ideas together with a threat so that you become excessively distressed. So how to overcome that? I know that it's easier said than done, but you simply appreciate that the ideas are mentally presented. Merely hateful suggestions. Rubbish. You can poke your tongue at them. They have nothing to do with the threat and your perception of danger. Now, your perception of danger is valid because there's a threat, but it's a hidden threat. It is not obvious. It's only that a threat is being posed at the same time as the ideas are being mentally presented, in order to make you more perceptive and to be concerned about the ideas that are coming to mind. Someone is trying to influence you, to try and gain power and influence over you, to manipulate and control you. The third type of anxiety involves issues of a past trauma or a possible future trauma. A past trauma is an event that was very distressing, very emotional, but is in the past. It's happened, it's in the past. So why can we experience a memory to the extent of reliving that memory, reliving that traumatic event. And not only to relive it, but for it to become very serious anxiety. So why does it feel that bad? To understand this, you need to appreciate that the emotion that you are feeling, that feels raw, uninhibited, out of your control, is really only your reaction to the concealed threat, a hidden threat. In other words, you're experiencing fear. Now you need to appreciate here too that this is not going to be easy to overcome because of your instinctive reaction of fear, that you're already reacting to a real threat, even though they don't intend to carry it out. And if this has happened to you many times already, then there's a certain amount of conditioning that you're going to need to overcome. So to overcome it, you're going to need time to get through it. Each time you'll be able to take control a little bit more and a little bit more until finally you'll be able to see that without a huge reaction. A reaction will still be there, but not something that's going to cause you serious anxiety. Now, while your reaction is a big part of it, that's the very critical part of it, there is still also the idea. And you need to appreciate that an idea does not have any volition of its own. It cannot arise in the mind of its own accord. Ideas are not in business for themselves and cause you to re-experience some traumatic event. There's only 3 ways that an idea can come to mind. One, definitely something can trigger you to have a memory, to recall something that happened in the past. But that is not going to cause you major distress. Yes, it may have been distressful, and yes, you may remember it with a certain amount of difficulty, and it may be emotional, but it's not going to cause you serious anxiety. The second way that an idea can come to mind is through your own thinking, that you have called up the idea through your thinking process. Now here again, even if you choose to think about that past traumatic event, is still not going to cause you major anxiety. The third way that an idea can come to mind is your perception of an idea that's been mentally presented to you. That idea, when it is coupled with a concealed threat, will influence you, and your reaction will lead to major distress, serious anxiety. But as we said, it's not the idea that's causing you the major distress, it's the coupling of a concealed threat together with the idea. Now, whoever it is knows you, knows that you've had a traumatic event in the past and is using it, presenting it to you mentally under conditions of a concealed threat to influence you, to see you distressed and thereby get pleasure from it or use it in some way to manipulate and control you. These reasons are also very common in using the past event as a possible future trauma. Create a possible future trauma from some event that has happened. As for instance, there might have been a shooting at the school where your children attend or a nearby school. So the suggestion can be used that there's been a shooting, and with the added suggestion, your children could be injured or killed. And when that is presented together with a concealed threat, it can be very, very distressful when you don't understand what is happening. And to appreciate how bad it can be, even when you do know about the foul game play and thus the concealed threat that is being used, it can still be a distressing situation because there's still a concern that you would normally have if there's been a shooting at a school and your children attending either that school or a nearby school, and then it's reasonable that you may have concerns, but those concerns won't cause you serious anxiety as to suffer very serious conditions, so for instance lead to depression. So to recap on the whole of anxiety, there are two reasons why you are experiencing the anxiety, the pathological anxiety. One is your reaction to a concealed threat. Your reaction is instinctive. The other reason is because there is at the same time the idea presented, which is not a memory, it's only your perception of mentally presented idea. And I would say, without a doubt, it must be somebody who was already there on the scene, maybe the abuser themselves or someone who knew about it. If it's in combat, then somebody that was psychopathic that was there at the time is involved, which was the reason why the experience was traumatic in the first place, because they could have threatened you so easily. There's nothing obvious. Criminal intent is all that is needed. Upholding an idea. I'm going to be shot. I'm going to be massively injured. And note the use of the first person to make you feel that you are really thinking that. And of course, the hidden threat is easy as, because the offending person is already holding a weapon and possibly aiming it at you. A reliving of such an event only requires a threat, a hidden threat, together with the idea that was presented in the first place. Knowing that, you can then dismiss it, knowing that it's not reliving at all. It's a cheat. Why would this knowledge help you? What makes the difference? The difference is that when you believe that the ideas are your own thinking, then they carry your authority and you will react to them. But when you know that the ideas are mere suggestions, hateful suggestions, you don't have to react to them because they do not carry your authority. In fact, you know that they are rubbish. And if you don't react to them, then you don't suffer the problem. So you can stop or prevent that reaction. In the next lesson, I will discuss how serious anxiety can lead to depression, what it's about, and give you the information that will help you overcome it.